Welcome to the 5th episode of the 4th series of the Women in CX podcast, a series dedicated to real talk conversations between women in customer experience. Listen in as we share our career stories, relive the moments that shaped us, and voice our opinions as loudly as we like about all manner of CX subjects. I'll be your host, Clare Muscutt, and in today's episode, I'll be talking to one of our members, a seriously brave woman who fled Kharkiv during the Russian invasion of her hometown and is now seeking refuge in Europe. Let me introduce you to today's inspiring guest. She was born in Ukraine and went on to hold a number of senior roles in Russia, working in customer experience and marketing across the property management and financial services sectors. Today's episode is a special broadcast to give her the platform to share her experience and highlight the plight of women and children fleeing Ukraine at this time. Please welcome to the show CX sister Elena Rozanova. Hi Elena.
Hello.
Hi, how are you,
Claire.
How are you doing today?
It's getting better. Every day, another day.
Okay,
so it's getting better.
So just to position this conversation, this is a podcast that's being recorded out of our usual schedule. And Elena and I met one another right at the beginning of the Women in CX Community adventure, where I interviewed her for her feedback and thoughts about what a community could do to support women like Elena within our industry. And she became one of our earliest founding members and actually helped me to build Women in CX as an MVP and a prototype before launch. And I'm eternally grateful to you, Elena, for doing that. But today we're here to talk about a very important issue, which is the Ukrainian-Russian war. And Elena's been sharing her story in the community about what's happening, what's happened to her recently. And we wanted to use the podcast as a platform for her to be able to share her story with the world and to share the story of other refugees that are now trying to escape the conflict. So thank you so much for coming to share that story with us today, Elena. I know it's probably going to be an emotional experience to recount, but we are 100% here for you, and I want to make sure that your story is heard. Okay.
Thank you, Claire. It's very important. Thank you.
So I guess my first question then is just to kind of give us a bit of your backstory, really. How did you become a Ukrainian living in Russia? How did that transpire?
I was born and raised in Ukraine, in the city called Kharkiv, which being under severe attacks these days. And when I was around, 23, I think, I was offered a position in Moscow office of a company, international company. We met at the event. And so then I was offered the position. I moved to Moscow. There was a bit of a drama story behind that, but it's not the issue of this podcast specifically. So I moved to Russia in, I think, 2007. I worked for a couple of years in Moscow, moved back to Ukraine, to a lovely city called Odessa for 1 year, and then back to St. Petersburg and then to Moscow. So I think overall I spent about 15 years in Russia. Mm. Funny enough, I never got Russian passport, which all my Russian friends thought was a stupid idea not to get one, because my life should have been a bit easier in Russia. But I don't know. I had this feeling all the time. I cannot explain it. I just thought it's fine. I have my Ukraine passport. I have some documents in Russia. I'm working officially. I'm paying my bills, so it should be fine. And I first was in the real estate industry for many years, and then as marketeer mainly, and then joined Bridge Company, a design company in 2011. Spent about 6 years with them. Very, very good experience, and that's how I got my proper British English, which everybody likes. And then I have my daughter, and she was born in 2016, and realized I cannot travel as much, and I decided that I should probably stay in Russia. So did this And I think I got into CX in 2015, 14, and it just made so much sense. So I was trying to promote that in every industry. And, I still believe, especially in the current situation, that what we do is something that we need to continue to be doing and change the world for better.
I agree. And was there like always an underlying tension between Russia and Ukraine, given the history? Would you like to share a little bit with the listeners about what that history is? They might not be aware of it.
Okay, so I mean, if you look back at the history of this part of the world, you will know that Kiev was built like way before Moscow. Way before Moscow. It was the center of that. I know the right word, empire, I would say, of Slavic nations. But then with years and Russia becoming stronger, some parts of Ukraine being some called like Malorussia, which is like small Russia. That's exactly the eastern part of Ukraine where my native city is located, as well as Donetsk and Luhansk. And I mean, tension is possible, but as a Russian speaker, and my Ukrainian is way worse than my English. I never experienced any problems, and I keep telling all my friends, I mean, both in Ukraine and in Russia, that there are bad people in every nation, and there are some not really smart people claiming that, oh, if you live in Ukraine, you have to speak Ukrainian. But it's not a general approach. People were welcome to speak any language. But I mean, official language is still Ukrainian, so it's normal to have the documents and know the language if you live in the country. I mean, if you come to United Kingdom, you probably should know, should speak English just to be, occupied in the whole environment, engaged in the life. And I mean, it's hard. It's politics mainly, not the tension between people, though. Yeah, because I mean, there are lots of people in Moscow now who are in real pain because their loved ones are in Ukraine, because the families were never separated in terms of the borders. We were traveling and everything was fine. So I think it's a crisis for people in Russia as well. I mean, internally in their hearts now.
And can you explain to the listeners a little bit more about kind of what triggered the invasion? Do you know, like, why it's happened?
I wish I knew. I mean, a few days before I went to Ukraine, and my friends are still laughing about the reason why I went there. Because I still hold Ukrainian passport, I decided to renew my driving license in Ukraine. So I went to Kharkiv to do that on the 23rd of February. And my friend, actually, she's based in London. She said, Helen, well, there are lots of intelligence saying that there should be a war or something. And I was saying, like, I don't understand the reasoning. I mean, I really still don't understand the reasoning behind all that. As a person, I mean, we can read lots of intelligence now, but as a person, I still don't understand. And it's still not clear to me. And especially with everything that's going on now with different sources of information, it's very hard to find the exact understanding.
So you were in Kharkiv literally as the war erupted. Can you tell us what was that like for you? What happened?
Yeah, the bombing started around 5 a.m. And
did you have any warning?
No. I actually I didn't even hear the bombings. I got up very early the day before. I spent a whole day running around doing things, and so and got in bed very late at my friend's house. And I woke up like hearing things that my friend's husband is saying about the city the satellite city of Kharkiv being under bombings. And in my mind, I thought, oh, that's a weird dream. It's just such a stupid dream, until I opened my eyes and then realized, no, they're actually talking in the room next door, and I could hear them. And I go up, I came to their room and I said, what's going on?
Mhm.
And they said, well, apparently there are bombings all over Ukraine. And I was like, shit. I'm sorry to say this word,
It's
but
okay. It's okay. It's warranted for sure.
it was just really shocking. And I think I still cannot understand what was going on. Because we got we got onto the car and we went to do some things. People were standing in the drugstores, huge lines, to the supermarkets, to, I don't know, to everything that could sell anything. So then we go back, packed our stuff, went to my friend's friend in the next building. And the reasoning for that was that running from their level 11 to the shelter, to the bunker, would be much harder. And because their friend lived on level 4, we thought that, okay, it's good. So we spent the whole day there with 3 kids. I have still my godson and his family that back in Kharkiv. They cannot leave. And we spent the whole day. At some point we could still hear the bombings and warnings, and we listened to the TV, and we could, at some point I was thinking, I'm like in the movie about alien invasion. Honestly, I was watching these movies before, and I thought, oh, I mean, interesting how people feel. Like an empathetic person, I was trying to kind of put myself in the shoes of these people. And then I was that person. And that, I mean, we couldn't really understand what's going on. And we taped the windows so the windows do not break if the bomb comes next to the building. And the kids fall asleep, and we could, I think, we could take the shower then, and then in the evening we decided that we need to get out of the house and go to the shelter, and the only shelter that was available next was the kind of a bunkhouse or a space under the high rise where my friends live. And this space it was covered with water just a few months before, so you can understand that it's not anything with refurbished or something like that. There were bricks and there were dead cats and things like that. And we could only sit in the corridor, and thankfully nice people offered a mattress for the kids so kids could sleep. And my friend, he thought that this was an extra mattress they have in their house or something like that. And just to understand, the guys who offered the mattress, they lived on level 8, and the all elevators were cut off the energy, just not to keep people inside in case some bombings happen or something like that. And so my friend goes up with them thinking they have an extra mattress or something. And actually they took the mattress off their bed to bring it down and provide kids with space to sleep, which was extremely human. And I hope they're good. I hope these people are good now and reunited with their kids, because their kids live somewhere else. So we spent the night there, and we realized that it will be very hard. I mean, we don't know how long it will take. We all hope it will end in 2 days, in 3 days. I don't think even people in Ukraine imagined how strong the army is and how strong the people are. we're through this propaganda and not looking at as an Ukrainian nation as a strong nation in general. I mean, I think people were losing faith a little bit, and with this whole situation happening, the faith is getting back. And most of the people, I would say 95% of people I met during the trip from Kharkiv to where I am now in Warsaw, they all want to get back. They don't want to, stay out of their loved ones, out of their houses, though maybe they don't even have a house anymore. So yeah, it was interesting to see all that. And then the next days until I actually fleet out, we spent in the hospital because one of the friends works there, and so we had some space, and there was also a bunker, and I was moving from very far away from the bunker, so I was sleeping first in the main room, and then each night I was kind of moving close to the bunker. And the last night there I've slept in the bunker itself. And again, it's not that something was prepared. It was just the underground place, again, a bit more healthy looking than the previous one, but still. And I think the major thing was to keep sanity and not to let yourself kind of relax, because you always have to be aware that the bomb can come. The people with guns can break into the hospital, theoretically. And so that kind of keeps you very, very alarmed all the time. I still don't really sleep. No, not because I have these weird dreams. It's just that it's just impossible to sleep. And it's strange for me. But I was trying to find the reason for that, actually. Why am I there? And I hope I found one.
Gosh, I can only begin to imagine what that must have been like, and how much strength it's taken you to recount the memories of what's happened. And you've been through a huge trauma, like you said, this unbelievable situation that felt like a movie, and your mind trying to adjust to this being the reality that you are in the movie, the film of a war zone. So I can only applaud you because you survived that experience and managed to get yourself out. But what was running through your mind? Like, you're hearing these bombs dropping, you seeing these like acts of amazing human kindness to one another in the midst of like the worst human acts possible of war and guns and killing people. Like, what was running through your mind about like the situation? What were you thinking of, like, in those moments?
So I was trying to find the reason for why am I here, because at some point I'm a fatalist, because lots of things happened in my life, and throughout my life some bad things happening led me to very good things eventually. So I'm trying not to be focused on the bad things, but think, okay, so this is a bad thing, okay, it's pretty bad, but where can I jump from there? And especially when I was fleeing, standing in lines and running for tickets and sitting in these compartments just filled with people, amazing people, honestly, amazing people. I was thinking, okay, I'm a customer experience professional. I would say human experience professional, because customers and employees are humans, right?
People, yeah.
So feeling all that, can I help at some point? And can I using all my connections, the community, all these incredible women in CX or other networks that I have in CX community, can we help the organizations that are actually, working with refugees to make the experience of being a refugee a bit less painful and unstable? Because no matter, let's be realistic, we cannot stop the wars ourselves, but in our hands, we definitely have the powers to help these women and kids who are mainly running, or elderly people, to feel a bit more secure. Because in the last line from Lviv to this train, and actually in the first line as well, we were standing shoulder to shoulder, and you were standing like this, and someone else was standing behind you. And it was not like the line on the tube in London, right? Everybody's standing, and it's very precise. People were saving their lives. They were saving their kids' lives, because that was the most precious thing. And that it was not organized. There were no volunteers at the station at that point. I've heard that now they actually use military guards who gather women with kids and then take them to the trains. But when we were fleeing about a week ago, there was nothing like that. You just stand in line for 5 hours. We only moved like, I don't know, maybe 7 meters. At some point, me and my friend, because I was living with my friend and her daughter, we've agreed that it's not the way to do it. So we decided to we'll do it differently. And we got on the train eventually. But again, we were literally fighting. I had to push people. And in my mind, I honestly hope that these people got out there. But going through all that, I understand that, of course, no one was ready for the war. But can we, as a community, go through, journey mapping, thinking, coming up with ideas? What can be done on each of these little points to help these women and kids to understand where they're going, to help with the luggage, to help with the food? Because the Lviv station was a bizarre. People started fighting, literally, kicking each other because they were so stressed, staying in line, not being able to go to the toilet because toilets are not available or they're out, and you're here with the kid. You cannot leave the kid. You have the bag. You have everything, a big bag. So that was breaking my heart even more than the bombings itself, because thankfully I didn't see it myself, the bombings. Thankfully, I didn't see myself with my own eyes, the everything that was demolished. And I do have this trauma, but I didn't see it with my eyes. But what I saw with my eyes and what I've experienced is being on these trains, in these lines, seeing these women who don't speak the language, who don't have the money, who don't understand whether they will have a bed to sleep tomorrow. And they have a little kid, or 2, or maybe 3, and they have a dog. I love the people who are also taking the dogs or cats, because it's good. It's human not to leave them behind. And so, do I have a plan right now? No, I don't. And I'm still trying to just calm down and put my head around the whole thing that happened to me. But do I feel the powers in our hands? Definitely. And I hope next week I will try, or maybe someone who will be listening to this will approach me, one who's helping with refugees and they need my help, or they need help of the community. Because I was talking to a couple of ladies from Women in CX who had similar experience, but just different countries, in Serbia and Kosovo and all that. I'm not the first one, and I'm not the only one, and I'm not claiming I have all the answers. Because looking at how people fleeing right now, in what conditions they have to get out of their native country and save their lives, I don't know, maybe my dad, who passed away many years ago, was my guarding angel, because I fled out, I'm still here, I'm still standing, I'm here, and I'll be standing.
Yeah. It would only be someone like you who would be thinking about how what you can do can help other people when you've been through something so traumatic yourself. So, like, I guess if anyone is listening and we as a community could help to solve some problems or issues, I know that there are some incredibly smart and supportive women who will give their time to do that. We just need to find opportunities to help. And you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm
good.
This, giving you the platform to share this story and your intention and what you want to do to help. Like, you've got my support. We just need to try to find ways of being able to help. And I know, like, the sense of powerlessness that I think people around the world who aren't directly affected by this feel, and the empathy, well, not that we can physically put ourselves in your shoes, but hearing your story today and knowing, the details that you'd shared around being women alone in a line with kids while people are fighting and there's nothing being done to try to help manage that experience. Like, if there's a way that we can help, of course, we want to do that. But what about you and your family now? So you're not with your children, your daughter or your mum. Like, where are you now, and what's happening there?
They are still in Moscow. They will leave tomorrow, and we have to catch up in Europe. And I mean, it's the whole life is just kind of blowing. Because I'm still working for a Russian company. I'm working in a bank, and I love my job. I love what I was doing. We have so many plans, so I'm not sure what will happen there, because let's be honest, I'm a little bit scared to get back, because I will not forget. I cannot say that I wasn't there, and I cannot pretend it was not happening. But if I will, then there is a law and I can get to jail. So I'm not really keen to get to jail. And
is that because if you speak out about what happened and your point of view, there's a law against it? So it's so it's
you literally can get to jail for just saying a phrase, which is for peace or no war, which is ridiculous to me, but that's what we got. Yes, I'm a bit concerned, and but also, I mean, come on, my heart goes to all the people in Russia who will be struggling, who are struggling right now. When things happened and I made a post, I said, honestly, I don't give a fuck about the passport or about your nationality or where you're coming from. If we understand what's going on, if we are honest, that we accept the facts as the facts. Because I mean, one of the girls I know from Moscow, she was supportive, she was supportive, and then at some point she said, so how are you doing? And I said, well, under bombs still. And her next phrase, it just pissed me off. She said, how do you know it's Russians who are bombing? Have you seen it yourself? And I'm like, to be fair, at the moment, we don't know what's going on because it's war. And of course, some Ukrainian bombs or rifles might get to Ukrainian people. I mean, it's not that they're targeting Ukrainian people, it's just that these are the casualties of war. And it's not the first war that's running by these rules and laws. But I would never think in this way about this whole situation. So I just cut maybe a couple of people off my network, to be fair, because most of the people are okay, and they're I've got a tremendous support, tremendous.
Yeah, tell me more about that. Like, what? Let's say, you said the human aspects that you've experienced, despite this being a tragic and terrible situation. How have you been supported? Who supported you? What kinds of things have people done to help?
So, well, first of all, they lots of people wrote me messages, or in different channels. They wrote me messages. All of them offered help. Some who are closer to me, they've offered help to my family in Moscow, and my mom did receive this help as much as it was needed, and still keeps receiving that. But there's just a phrase right now in Ukraine, and I think it's everywhere. During the war times, the phrase "How are you?" is equal to "I love you." And that's what was happening. People were writing to me. My HR manager from my bank, she was writing to me morning, midday, and evening. I never even met this lady, literally, never in my life. We were only chatting all the time for the past year, and she was helping me. But, getting this kind of support. And then I received messages from people I've never spoken for like 10 years or 15 years. Wow. From all over the world. And everybody was asking, how can I help? And I said, you know what? Just reaching out is so important, because sitting in the bunker, closed from the whole world, and just listening bad news is getting on you. At some point I had it a little bit, well, they didn't let me to have a meltdown, thankfully. But I had this, I was not sure if I will get out alive. And at some point, I almost felt, no, I'm fucking lucky. I will get out of here for sure. But then the other, when you're under all this pressure, and when we were fleeing with my friend and her daughter, so you could imagine, just for you to imagine. So there is a train, and next to the train, you see maybe 150 people. And it's not that they're standing in line. They're just surrounding the entrance. And we didn't have the tickets. So I was pushing through this crowd to get to the door of the train. And this is a train with compartments. So in each compartment, there are four beds, 2 at the bottom and 2 at the top. So usually there will be 4 people. So we get on the train. Sonia, my friend's daughter, is crying because she was pushed and she was hurt a little bit, and she was scared that she might have lost her mommy, who was just behind her. And we got on, I think, second compartment. They're young kids, I think 20, maybe 20, 22, 23. And we asked, can we sit, please? And they, sure, there will be lots of us, but of course you can sit. So we sat there, and eventually we started chatting. And these were kids who were working for the company that's doing some engineer and design work for European companies. And so I think they were engineers and designers and architects, and very young. I mean, up to 23. And they've shared some sweets with us and water, and there was one hilarious guy, Daniel. He was making us crying because of his jokes. And I was looking at Sonia, and she was smiling and she was laughing, and she couldn't get to sleep because she was smiling so much and laughing. And it was good, because after the whole stress of getting on this train or standing we spent a whole day at the train station waiting for the train. She was, of course, she's a kid. She's 11 years old. She's scared. So that guy really, really, really took the tension away, and we could sleep. And then there are people, I mean, in the other train and in this train and at the station. I've seen unhuman behavior then, all these fights and the things. I mean, not unhuman in a way. It's not natural for humans. It's more like I would expect more friendly. Yeah, it was frightening at some point, especially if you're running for the train. And because we only had backpacks, our hands were free. So we've tried to help the mothers with kids who have big bags. So we were carrying with Christina. At some point I was like, I'm just so tired. I didn't sleep for 3 nights. I can barely hold myself. And I don't think I slept for 4 nights in a row. I mean, normally. But just seeing all that, the human behavior, this real strength in being human rather than fight for your own life only, is extremely powerful.
I'm sure that will stay with you forever. So is there anything kind of you'd like to say to the audience, or how they can support refugees, or like what those who are quite distant from this, who really want to help? Is there a way that we can help?
Okay, there are numerous initiatives at the moment, and if you go to LinkedIn, I'm sure you can find, or I can actually repost some of this, so you can find me, and you will check my latest post and you can see it. There are lots of refugees coming, and if you're based in Poland or Romania or Czech Republic, just Google where things are happening, and be part of that. Germany, even. I mean, people go as far as they can at the moment, and they don't speak the language. So download the translation app for yourself and for those people. I know that there are lots of good people, and they're also scared. I mean, it's okay to be scared. It's just good if you could download the app, come at the station, meet a lady with a kid, help her to eat and sleep properly for the next days, help her to locate herself, and make her feel a bit more secure about her future, even for the next, I don't know, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, months, maybe. We don't know when it will end. There are lots of initiatives that are going on in terms of the money support. And again, I'll try to post everything I could find on my page. And thank you. I mean, if you will help just one person right now, there will be already one person better for all of us.
Yeah, and if you give us the links, Elena, we can post them all on our YouTube, Spotify, all of our channels, and help you to get that message across. So wow, like you are an incredibly inspiring, brave woman. I'm proud to call you a friend. I think what you've been through and the strength you've shown in being able to share your story in the aim of helping others is nothing short of just brilliant. And I really hope that over the coming weeks and months, as you get reunited with Lisa and your mom, and you've got people around the world, especially with us here in Women in CX, to support you, that you figure out some of those questions that you've got in your head. But please take care of yourself, get some sleep, some rest, and if there's anything that I or any of our community can do to help, apart from just sending you nice messages, which we'll continue to do anyway,
that was good.
Just let us know anytime. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sending you the most huge amount of love.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Women in CX podcast with me, Clare Muscutt. Please check out the links in the show notes for how you can support women refugees. If you enjoyed the show, please drop us a like, subscribe and leave a review on whichever platform you're listening or watching on. And if you want to know more about joining the world's first online community for women in customer experience, please check out womenincx.community and follow the Women in CX page on LinkedIn. Join us again next time where I'll be talking to another amazing community member, this time from the Netherlands, about crafting CX culture by strategic design. See you all soon.